Okay. Good evening, everyone. Before I begin this webinar, I hope you had a very wonderful time during Navratri time. Today is a very important day for the very simple reason RBI came out with the monetary policy, and I think some of the steps that has been taken, if you look at the language of the RBI governor, I think clearly says that we will do what needs to be done to counter the tariff. There's some announcement which came from RBI that loan against sales, which is 20 lakhs limit, now it's increased to 1 crore. 10,000 crore limit single borrower, that has been enhanced. The funding for acquisition can also be now permitted. So I think somewhere the message is becoming loud and clear that we will do what needs to be done. And I think that's not the only language from the RBI, but that's the language coming from the government of India. And rightly so, because we have a challenge in our hand of 50% tariff coming in from the US. So we will overcome that challenge, but it's not easy to develop another market so quickly. And how do we basically manage the transition? I think that's one thing the government is doing. So before I begin my webinar, again, it's the first day of the month. So what happened in the month of September and how do we see the market going ahead? But before I begin my webinar, a disclaimer that this webinar is just to enhance your understanding about the equity market. It's only for the education purpose. Please consult your financial advisor before buying or selling any stock. Investment in securities market are subject to market risk, and past performance is no indicator of future returns. So if you look at from last Dasara to this Dasara, market performed very badly, and it's very critical to understand that past performance is no indicator of future returns. In the same way, gold and silver did extremely well from last Dasara to this Dasara. Again, I would like to say past performance is no indicator of future returns. So let me take this opportunity, wishing you happy Dasara. Let there be a victory of bull over bear in next 1 year. वो बोलते हैं ना कि अधर्म पे धर्म की जीत हो, इसी तरह से बुल की बेर पे जीत हो. That's what we want this time Dasara to be, because Indian market it absolutely struggled to give meaningful returns to the equity investors. And not, if you look at the mutual fund last 1 year returns, and you will realize how badly they have also performed. So it's been challenging. Many times retail investors don't realize, but my request to all of you, just look at your own portfolio. Last Dasara to this Dasara, and you will realize probability is very high that you would have seen double-digit dip in your portfolio returns. हमको दुनिया का रिटर्न पहले दिखता है, अपना खुद का रिटर्न जब अच्छा नहीं होता दिखने का मन भी नहीं करता. That's what has happened. So once again, happy Dasara to you and everyone in your family. Please convey my regards to everyone in your family, and let's begin this one. So the 2025, if I have to really say, because first 9 months are over, is Trump tariff tantrum. So what we have done, we have looked at various important dates and events of so on 2nd April, he announced that there will be a tariff. 9th April, he said, and market between 2nd April to 9th April went down by 4%, as you can see here. Then he said, I'm going to put 90 days post tariff, and the market went up by 13.6 between 9th April to 2nd July. The 90-day tariff pose ends, and market from then there till 6th August, it's minus 3.5. Then on 6th August, he announced 25% additional tariff on India. Why? because India has been buying crude oil from Russia and the defense product. From that to 26 August, that's the implementation of tariff, market actually went up by 0.6. From 26 August to 19 September. Why 19 September? Because HV1B visa fiasco. Why I'm using the word fiasco? Purely because a lot of confusion there. Market went up by 2.5. But from the H1B visa till 100% tariff on pharma import, that's on 25th September last week, market went down from 1.7. And from that till today, the market is marginally down by 0.2. So you can look at the events and how Indian market behave to that event, just to give a color on how tariff is important in terms of shaping the Indian market sentiment. I'm going to cover that in my presentation going forward, but this is just to give you a color on what's happening in the market. Now, what happened in the month of September? Indian market closed positive in the month of September. Sometimes the number does not give a clear-cut idea. Even mid and small cap closed slightly in the green. But advance decline ratio was still weak. It was less than 1. In other words, more companies decline as compared to advance, despite the large cap close in the green, mid cap close in the green, small cap close in the green. So that's the thing. Trading volume remains stable but continues to remain average daily volume less than 1 crore on NSE. And FPI head story for India continues. Why? They have been seller in the month of September, albeit little lower than what they sold in the month of August. So this has been this one. Going from Indian equity to Indian economy, there is one fear, and even I have that fear. Let's be very honest with you. What happens to the India's fiscal deficit? Why am I saying so? The reasons I am explaining you. On one hand, the government is giving, rightly so, the benefits to boost the consumption, whether it's an income tax benefit, it's a GST, this. Today, DNS allowance has been increased, which will cost me about 10,000 crore or so additional kind of stuff. The capex cycle would be much better as compared to what it was there last year. So buoyancy on the tax would be little muted, and the real impact of GST cut would get felt in the month of November, on the 1st November, when the data for September comes. Because what you collected, you pay to the government in the month of October. So maybe November and December, I think we'll get some more idea about what kind of a damage the GST relief has done on the revenue side. When you look at yesterday, data came that fiscal deficit is higher than what it was same period last time, 38%. So one fear is that will India be able to manage 4.4%, which has been the glide path announced in the budget in FY 2026. Of course, the finance minister has come and loud and clear they will be able to maintain, but where would this deficit? Because your nominal GDP also has not been so great in the first quarter. CA, that's a chief economic advisor, few days back said 7%. Today, Sanjay Malhotra, our RBI governor, also said 7% growth in the quarter 2. So why it is important? Because when your nominal GDP is lower, it reduces your denominator. And assume that your numerator remains the same, the deficit goes up. So mathematically, it looks a little challenging, and that's also my worry. Of course, the borrowing which came, government announced in the second half, looks to be quite fine as we speak. But you never know, when the world is so dynamic, things can change very drastically. The 15th August, the GST cut was announced by the Prime Minister from the Red Fort, and on 22nd September, not only the GST Council ratified it and discussed, it got implemented also on 22nd. That's a big thing which has happened. I must tell you, except auto, the things are not, the the jump that we see is not as robust as what it was expected. Reason is very simple. People do have an inventory in their books. In this one, they want to sell that first before they ask for the new inventory. Number one. Number two, some of the software systems are still not been updated. Whether it's a retail level, it's a wholesaler, and so on and so forth. And if that is so, it is creating somewhat. So that buoyancy that we should see still not been there. I will tell you very frank. But of course, it doesn't mean that it will not be there tomorrow. Or it will not be there day after tomorrow. When I said tomorrow, day after tomorrow, not literally day after tomorrow and day after tomorrow, going forward. So it's a good move. It's a very good move. But it's not going to reflect immediately in the consumption pattern. Please ask yourself, and we have a good audience today, how many people, because of GST rate reduction, bought items? So, of course, we have festive season is already started, and Diwali is near about 20 days away from now on. I think we should see some spot happening. That's the thing. But overall, I think it's a very good structural reforms. And sometimes we need to understand the structural reforms may not have a short-term positive impact. But the structural reforms have a very long-term, very positive impact. And that's what we should be all aiming for. GST collection is very nice, 9.2% Y-on-Y. 1.89 lakh crore. I think the previous month was a little less than previous month, if my memory serves me right. Of course, we'll get the data in a subsequent slide. But the 9.2 Y-on-Y is not bad, in line with the nominal GDP growth. India's fiscal deficit at 5.98 lakh crore, which was 38.1% that we discussed, and the revenue has been little lower than what was expected. Fitch revised India's GDP to 6.9% from 6.5 for FY 2026. So despite tariff impact, there is an upward revision in India's GDP growth. But not only that, today when RBI announced the monetary policy, they also increased from 6.5, which they basically announced in the month of August, to October 6.8%. So whether it's a 6.9, whether it's a 6.8, but the good news is that India is expected to grow better than what was initially estimated despite tariff impact. And for some reason, if there have been some trade agreement between the US and the India, there is a good scope that numbers can be further revised. And if that can be revised upward, definitely fiscal deficit, that worry I'm not talking about, can to some extent can be taken care. RBI today, if you ask me very honestly, they should have done it. The 25 is another rate cut, for the very simple reason, economy needs support at this point of time, and number two, the inflation is going to remain very, very benign. And if that is so, it makes all the more reason that they should have done it. Not only the monsoon is good, but because of rate rationalization in the GST, interest will further come down. And that should happen anyway. I think RBI choose to basically wait and watch rather than jumping. So maybe most probably we'll see that rate cut happening in the month of December. So if you look at the commentary from the RBI, I think it's very clear cut. There are no ifs and buts kind of stuff in the statement or the language, body language of the RBI. They are saying, please expect a rate cut going forward. So most probably we should see one more rate cut coming in from the RBI. There are two major events that took place, and I always look at things not in isolation, but as a pattern. So what do we see? I think US is making all the attempts to bring India on a discussion table. They want to put India in a very fixed spot kind of a stuff. Why am I saying so? Look at the chain of events. We saw first Chabad port, where India has a major interest. It has been put under sanction. It was not put under sanction. Second thing, the US is warming up more to Pakistan, and Saudi and Pakistan sign a defense pact that aggression on one country will amount to be aggression on another country. We saw H-1B visa, then we saw pharma, and it's been threatening quite some time that pharma will. So today pharma is not there, which is not, generics is not there. You never know what can happen. So somewhere I think US is putting a lot of pressure on India, come on the discussion table, not only come on discussion table, but also try to squeeze as much as possible in the negotiation. We need to wait and watch how much Indian government give in. Shifting from Indian market to Indian economy to now US market and economy. While RBI today did the rate cut, but Fed did in the month of September, 25 bips rate cut. And if you look at the Fed Watch tool, before coming for this webinar, I looked at there's one more 25 bips rate cut is expected from the Fed. To be honest with you, while RBI should have done, Fed should not have done. I'm basically having a completely contra view here because situation, while the US economy is showing a lot of strength, I must tell you that despite tariff and so, it's a lot of strength. But inflation one is going to be a very big casualty in the process. And that's going to be this one. One more thing which happened, if you remember, and of course I did cover this event topic with our PMS customer. There is a big question mark on the legal sanctity of the tariff. Why? Because Trump is saying that I'm using the emergency measures to levy the tariff. First, it went into the lower court ruled that Trump doesn't have authority. It went to the appeal court also Trump lost it. Now it has went to the Supreme Court. And of course, there is a timeline, and somewhere in the first week of November, the oral argument will begin, and both the sides will put their views. Most probably, we should get some clarity whether tariff is legal or not legal somewhere by December 2025 to June 2026. But if you look at it, there's sort of so much setbacks that are happening to Trump. Whether it's a Fed governor sacking that has been upheld, tariff is another thing which has been this one. So there are setbacks that Trump is facing, so we need to wait and watch how it does happen. Another interesting thing that happened in the month of September that Trump proposed, which of course he had proposed in his first term also, that why should we have a quarterly earnings? It should be once in 6 months. And I think in an era where everything is digital, 6 months is a too long a period. If I am the president of US, I would say why not monthly, yaar? If company can announce on the first day of the month what has been the production and what has been the sales which has been done by auto companies, why not the trial balance on every first day of the month? It's quite easy, am I right? We are no longer writing physical books. It's all digital, and why not? In the press of a button, you should get the numbers and balance it readily available. So it's a little surprising. I don't understand what the logic, but that's what, and there was a lot of debate about that. We did show to our PMS customers, country which are following a 6 monthly, country which are following quarterly, and there are many countries also in the world they are following once in a year only. The numbers, there is no quarterly, there is no 6 monthly. But then, where we are in a T+1 kind of a settlement, why should there be so much delay? So I'm not in that camp. But anyway, that was the one topic which has listened. Goldman Sachs did a very interesting study, and they said 86% of the tariff revenue so far has been borne either by the US businessmen or consumers. Now more has been taken over. That's not Goldman Sachs said. I'm making an assumption here that more of this has been borne by the US businesses. Eventually they will be forced to pass on that to the consumers, and when that has been passed on, the inflation in the US is likely to go up. And if that's going up, why basically there should be a rate cut? That's one dilemma that I am having with the difference opinion I am having with the Fed. as I was saying, Lisa Cook, which was supposed to be fired because of so-called alleged misconduct, but they lost the appeal. The Trump administration lost the appeal there. H-1B visa, first it had said that it's applicable to everyone, also on the renewals, and it's annual, and then the clarification came little late, but it created a lot of chaos for those who are on the way to India or those who were in India. They wanted to go back and end up paying 6 lakhs as a price, flying from India to the US kind of a stuff. Now it's been clarified, but you never know what Trump can do. Today maybe it's a one-time fee. Tomorrow it could be annual. Tomorrow it could also be applicable to the renewal. So very difficult. 100% tariff have been imposed on branded and patented pharma products. You never know. This scope can further expand it. Like few days back, he announced that even films can have a 100% tariff. I don't understand the logic there. I wish there's some sensible guy who could advise Trump, because today the prints are no longer digital, or no longer physical. They're all digital. And if it is digital, it's a software. The whole tariff was on the manufacturing, on the goods end, not on the services. So how he's going to levy tariff, I don't understand the logic only. Of course, no further details have come. We will wait and watch. But how he's going to do it, I don't know. As you all know, US government has gone into a lockdown. Why? Because Democratic and Republican could not come on the agreement, government funding. This is not the first time it has happened. It has happened many times, 20 times it happened since 1977. And normally, this lockdown remains at least for, on an average, 8 days. But in 2018, this is December, that's the first term of Trump, it lasted for 35 days. And what is surprising there, on that 35 days, the S&P 500 went up by 10.27%. So while it may sound negative, but the market rated positive. Yesterday also US market, so there was a fear that there will be no consensus between the Democratic and Republic. But yet market yesterday closed in the green in the US market. So is such a negative, for example, and I'm just, as I talk to you, I just want to see how is the US market behaving today, just to get some clarity. It's little negative, near about 0.5% or so, but that's it. But the historical trend doesn't say that it should be negative. One thing I must tell you, and I've spoken many times with our PMS customer, the US market valuations are extremely becoming expensive, and I think that could limit the upside, and hence past performance no indicator of future returns. Moving from US to the international, we all know that OPEC, which was little not very keen to do production hike. In fact, in April they were talking about the production cut. Why? Because the prices were quite soft, and I think they now realize that they want to increase their share in the total supply. So they've been every now and then increasing the production. From today, they are going to increase 1.37 lakhs barrel per day. But when you talk to some of the experts in the oil and gas industry globally, not I'm talking Indian, they are saying that many of this country will not be able to do it. Why? Because they are operating at a very peak capacity. So at the best, they could be able to increase 60,000 barrels per day. But nonetheless, it's better than what it was there last month. But the story doesn't end there. October, we are seeing, assume that pessimistic scenario of 60,000 barrels per day. In the month of November, it's going to go up. And there is, of course, the meeting is on the 5th October, which is few days from now. They are going to look at 5 lakhs barrel per day, further increase on top of what has been done, announced 1.3. So I think somewhere the OPEC is want to keep the supply in a healthy space, which basically ensures that we don't see spot in the crude oil prices. So if someone basically building a case for higher crude oil price doesn't look like. One good thing, and I must tell you today, RBI governor also said that the US and the Chinese economy is showing a lot of strength. OECD in the month of September revised world GDP growth from 2.9 to 3.2 for this calendar year. So that means the tariff impact, which was expected to be a little severe, doesn't seem to be playing havoc, at least till now. Very quickly, whatever we discussed, let's look at the data of that September highlights. As I was talking about advanced decline ratio, even though the large cap, mid and small cap are close in the green, the advanced decline third month in a row is less than 1. Of course, it has improved as compared to what it was there in the month of July and August, but nonetheless, it still is less than 1. That means more company decline as compared to advance. India's market cap increased by about 8 lakh crore in the month of in the month of September, I stand corrected. So there is a marginal improvement which as we have seen, but if you look at the September 2024, 475 lakh crore coming down to 4.52 lakh crore. We almost lost about 23 lakh crore despite IPOs coming in. So that gives an idea about erosion in the market. That's why I'm saying investors would have lost at least in double digit in last 1 year. Please do your mathematics, do your just one, you'll get that. Cash volume ideally should be more than 1 lakh crore, but it continues to remain below 1 lakh crore. Again, it's marginally improvement as compared to what it was there last 2 months, but nonetheless, it's less than 1 lakh crore. In the month of September, IT was very bad, 4.3. What surprised me that FMCG, which had got a GST benefit, was second worst performer. The PSU bank and the metal did extremely well, up by 11%. Okay, and if you look at the bank Nifty up by 1.3, Nifty Finance 1.78, but the PSU bank was the star performer, up by 11 points. Small and mid and everything closed in the green, but marginally. But advanced decline ratio was this one. What we have done now, we have looked at because we have ended the third quarter, am I right? And then we entered the fourth quarter of calendar year. If you look at the third quarter of 2025, most of the indices are in the red. Whether it's a mid-cap, small-cap, Sensex, Nifty, Nifty Infra, Bank Nifty, Bank Finance, and so on and so forth, you can see more red than the green. Where a few, 5, 6 indices are in the green, like Nifty Auto, 11%, Nifty Metal, 5%, PSU Bank, 5%, Commodity Index marginally up 0.5%, and Nifty MNC 3.08 and Nifty Consumption 1.86. So look at that bull bear. In second quarter, everything was in the green. Again repeat, in the first quarter, most of it were in red. Second quarter, everything was in green. Third quarter, almost everything is in red. So you can see that yo-yo movement happening on a quarter-to-quarter basis. Despite GST cut, many of the stocks which were consumption-driven were down. Whether it's a Trent, whether it's a Titan, whether it's a Asian Paints, whether it's a Hindustan Unilever, they were all down. Of course, Wipro, HCL Technology, Tech Mahindra, TCS purely because of, we all know, H1B visa episode. On the positive side, I think steel seems to be making a strong comeback. Look at JSW Steel, look at Tata Steel. That's one. Auto, which has been is doing extremely well, continue to do well. Like Eicher Motors up by 14-15%. Bajaj Finance was up by 14%. We saw another what we call bank SBI up, Axis Bank up by almost 8% or so. What happened in the sectoral indices, something very similar happened with the FPI. First quarter, they were net sellers. That is Jan to March. Second quarter, they become net buyers. Third quarter, that is July to September, again they become net seller. And in the process, they sold about 1.5 lakh crore, 1.54 lakh crore YTD. On the other hand, the DI has been always been positive, and if you look at July to September, they put in 2.218 lakh crore as compared to 76,000 crore outflow from the FPI, and yet almost each and every indices in the third quarter was in the red. तो somewhere FPI knows, वो बोलते हैं ना फाइट करते हैं ना हम लोग, बॉक्सिंग करते हो या UFC देखते हो, आप कितना ओपोनेंट को मारते हो वो मायने नहीं रखता, लेकिन कितना जोर से मारते हो आई थिंक वो मायने रखता है, किसी कौन सी जगह पे मारते हो. आई थिंक FPI knows where the pain points are, and they, even though they sold 76,000 crore, they've been able to create more pressure on the Indian indices, and DII, despite putting 2.21 lakh crore, not been able to lift the overall sentiment of the market. Mid and small cap YTD continues to be in red, and you look at that yo-yo moment. First 2 months has been really disaster for the Indian equity market. The next 4 months good. Another next again market basically closed in the green, and month of September again we saw everything in green. That is Nifty 50, mid cap and small cap. Rupee 5 months in a row has gone down, and overall YTD we are down by near about 3.64%. Normally Rupee goes down by 4 to 5% in a year, and I think that's what is happening. The only thing is that this time the GST is there a problem? Okay, this is despite the tariff impact. The rupee has not depreciated as much as it should have. Logically, in other cases, it would have really depreciated too much. But I think today RBI also coming and saying that they will try to see that rupee doesn't depreciate as much, and then they gone on the record saying they will intervene if required to see that rupee doesn't depreciate much. US market again did better than the Indian market in the month of September. Logically, if you go back, September is not a good month for the US market, but the Nasdaq was up by 5.4%, S&P 500 was up by 3.53%, Dow Jones was up by almost 2%, versus that Indian market is very muted as compared to what has been happening. If you look at the US market versus Indian market last 1 year, there is a stark contrast there. The Indian market went down, US market moved up. GST very quickly 1.89, sorry, I stand corrected, it was 1.86 to 1.89, so it increased. So it's increased Y on Y also and month on month also. Crude oil price are settling somewhere near about $70 per barrel, and I think it will remain little soft only. That's what our sense is, because OPEC wants to increase the production. Normally, how is the month of October? Last 2 months, last 2 years, October has not been so great. Why? Because market in last year went down by 5-6%. In October 2023, it went up by 3%. But if I look at the last 10 years, there are more greens as compared to red. Just very quickly, today the numbers came. Except Maruti, everyone reported better numbers Y on Y. And if you look at the FITD, that's the financial year 2026, Maruti is still in the green, Mahindra is in, still in the red, Mahindra in the green, Tata Motors marginally in the red, Bajaj Auto, which is two-wheeler, negative YTD, but Eicher and TVS did well. And you look at the numbers, 43% and so on and so forth. Even I think TVS Motor, highest ever sales they've done in 1 month. That's what they've announced today. Market cap GDP, we have taken Feb 2025 because that time the market sentiment was really bad actually. We were at 116.5. From there, market did move up. We are at 125 as we speak. I think market has corrected significantly than what it is from the peak level. So I think that's one good thing which is happening. So valuations have become more and more reasonable. And if some reason, if the tariff basically we find some solution there, we should expect market to see a lot of spurt. Trailing 12 months also, we were 24.6 at 28 Feb. We are at 26 times, not much of a difference. Which gives us hope that all is not lost. And if you look at the Sensex, the large caps are trading below the 10-year average. So is the case with BSE mid cap, and so is the case with BSE small cap. So somewhere Indian market is trading below 10-year average. FY 2027, the Nifty 50 earnings is expected to be 18%. And if that is so, by next Dasera, we should see, even if the market remains what the P, what it is commanding, we should at least expect 18% gain in the market by next Dussehra. Very quickly, I don't think I'll be repeating this slide maybe by next. Why? Because monsoon is about to come to an end, southwest monsoon. And India as a whole, 8% of rainfall gain. And in terms of coverage is marginally up, only 0.6%. I will not spend much time. What should we expect going forward before we open the floor for question answer? As of today, 25 bips rate cut from Fed on 29th October. I expect there should not be a rate cut, but let's wait and watch. Don't expect very great numbers from the India Inc. for the September quarter, despite GDP is likely to grow at 7% for purely because of tariff-related headwinds and also because of GST coming in. A lot of people postpone their purchases. But management commentary would be extremely good, and that's what will keep market interested, investors interested in the market. OPEC meeting on 5th October, likely to increase the production, which is a good thing for the market. And there is a optimism right now that Israel and Hamas may sign a truce. That agenda which has been announced by Trump, I think both the parties seems to be acceptable. Hamas is also said they are fine with it. Israel also said for him to fine. If that happens, I think it will bring some relief on the geopolitical front. But while that has been some relief, Russia seems to be more in aggressive mode. And many times we have seen that Poland has been complaining that they've seen Russian drones in their region. So we don't know how that plays out. Market will definitely look at one event which is very, very crystal right now is what happens to the US-India trade negotiation. We all know that Piyush Goyal was in US in the month of September. Things are looking little promising, but wait and watch what happens. And I think that's one thing which market will watch very, very closely. We are bullish on the Indian equity market. And again, I repeat, by next Dussehra, market should at least be up by 18% purely because I'm not expecting any PE expansion, but because of EPS growth, market should do that. So market is set for a very strong rally, supported by multiple tailwinds, and as and when the tailwinds start playing out, I think we should expect a good amount of rally. So of course, we have gone through last Dussehra, this Dussehra, teji nahi tha. Hopefully next Dussehra we should see the teji. Let's open the floor for question answer. Sarang sir, please cover your analysis on small and mid cap valuation now. Are we still in the overvalue zone? Sir, I covered that. If you look at the 10 years average versus right now, they are quoting below the 10-year average. If investors want to churn the portfolio, how much percentage of split can be small and mid cap for an... am I not visible? I can't see myself.
Audio is going, but
video is problem? Okay. So let's be aware with this because there is some problem with the video, but audio, okay, aa gaya, video bhi aa gaya. There's another camera, you can start another camera if you want. Okay. How much percentage of split can be small and mid cap for an aggressive investor, even being model portfolio user, raising this issue because I'm managing a satellite portfolio as well. So, sir, my request would be as follow. If you're an aggressive investor, if your time horizon is little long term, have 60 to 70% in mid and small cap. That makes a lot of sense. So that's what my advice would be. Ask them to switch on the AC. So I think that could be the heat, could be the reason. Rajan sir, please give your insight into gold and silver ETF investing, when to exit and if recommended to continue investing at present level. Thanks and regards. So Rajan sir, I always advise what I am comfortable doing in my personal portfolio. Just to make it loud and clear, yesterday I locked in some profit in my gold ETF. Was yesterday or day before yesterday, I'm forgetting whether it's yesterday or day before yesterday, I did that. Did I lock in 100%? The answer is no. Okay. If I had 10 kg, I sold only 500 grams. Okay. So that's what I did. Just to get an understanding that what percentage I sold it. The reason I believe the probability of gold giving me returns from this level, वो बोलते हैं past returns are no indicator of future returns, शायद गोल्ड में लगेगा आपको. We have seen very robust 2024 gain. We saw very YTD, very robust gain in the silver and both silver and gold. थोड़ा difficult लग रहा है इस level से. And sometimes to lock in profit is also good. The question comes, where do I park that fund? Because the money, पैसा तो है मेरे पास. Where do I need to park that funds? Very simple. Equity. So, last Dasara to this Dasara, gold made you happy. From this Dasara to next Dasara, equity will make you happy. And that's what I would recommend. But having said that, Rajan sir, gold and silver is a part of your assets allocation strategy. Am I right? तो अगर आपका 15% नहीं है उसमें allocation, then don't, or it is less than 50, don't book the profit. But by virtue of mark to market, it has gone beyond 15%, then time is to trim and bring it to 15%. That allocation then increase to the equity. I hope I have been clear, sir. I have not confused you. Achha, okay, we have changed the camera, so this one happened. Okay. Gopal Krishna sir, periodically stock retaking happens. If so, valuation is a myth, and then why there should be a valuation parameter in markets mojo? We often get confused with the valuation check. Please clear this doubt. Thank you very much. Gopal Krishna sir, एक डर्टी मूवी आया था, आपने डर्टी पिक्चर देखा था विद्या बालन का? उसमें क्या बताया गया था? पिक्चर चलता है बिकॉज ऑफ एंटरटेनमेंट. विद्या बालन का स्टेटमेंट था. सेम वे इन इक्विटी मार्केट इट्स ओनली वैल्यूएशन एंड वैल्यूएशन. वैल्यूएशन इज नॉट अ मिथ. वैल्यूएशन इज अ रियलिटी. नाउ हाउ डू यू वैल्यू कंपनी इज द फर्स्ट. तो सी द ब्यूटी इन दिस मार्केट ना. हाउ डज द मार्केट गेट्स फॉर्म? Market gets only formed when there are buyer and there are seller. The buyer believes that valuation अच्छा है, that's why he's buying. And seller को लगता है valuation बहुत expensive है, that's why he's selling. दोनों को लगता है दोनों सही है, but only time tells who is right and who is wrong. Am I right? तो valuation is a reality. How do you value? For example, मैंने बोला मैं गोल्ड बेचा ETF अपने पर्सनल पोर्टफोलियो में, वो तो मुझे वैल्यूएशन यहाँ से नहीं दिख रहा है, पर किसी ने तो बाय किया ना मुझसे, उसको लगता है और तेजी है गोल्ड में. तो वैल्यूएशन इज नॉट ए मिथ सर, इट्स अ रियलिटी. एंड व्हाई शुड वी हैव वैल्यूएशन पैरामीटर? इट शुड बी देयर. व्हाई शुड नॉट बी देयर? माय काउंटर क्वेश्चन टू यू गोपाल कृष्णा सर, व्हाई शुड नॉट बी देयर? अल्टीमेटली सी रिमेंबर, I'll give you a simple example. Okay, I've given that in the past also. Gopal, this is my iPhone. Okay. If I give you this phone for 10,000 rupees, everyone in this attending this webinar, I say मैं लेने को खरीदने को तैयार हूँ. If I say 5,000 rupees, people, even those who don't have money, will borrow and will buy this phone for 5,000 rupees. The moment I say this phone I'm selling it for 1.5 lakhs, कोई नहीं आएगा. What changed? It is the valuation of the phone. Am I right? So valuation is a reality, is not a myth. Your reason to buy a phone was a function, not because everything else remained the same. Phone तो वही था और वही है. But in 10,000 you are excited to buy. In 5,000 you are willing to borrow money even if you don't have to buy the phone. And 1.5 lakhs पे you don't want to buy. So Gopal Krishna sir, वैल्यूएशन एंड वैल्यूएशन, सच्चाई यही है. Rao sir, good evening. 9 red candles in a row, a phenomena not even during COVID times. If GST2, income tax relief, good monsoon, RBI action cannot cheer FIIS, what will cheer them to invest in India? Sir, okay, I presented the data. I think many in the first quarter they sold. Am I right? In 2025, second quarter they bought. But first quarter में तो market काफी तरह से पिट गया था. That means the price at which they sold in second quarter they bought. The price at which they bought has to be higher. Am I right or not? So what will bring them to FII? Maybe Chinese market. Because ultimately वो पैसा इंडिया से जाके चाइना में गया हुआ है. As and when they decide to lock in some profits from China, they will come. And eventually, ultimately they are also investors. They also want to generate alpha. So market at this point in time looks extremely good. So probability is very high that they will come back and they will invest. And as and when they will come back, they are not going to put a small amount of 1,000 crore or 2,000 crore or something. They are going to put substantial amount. And जो जिस तरह से उन्होंने बेचा है उतना डबल स्ट्रांगली वो पैसा लेके आएंगे इंडियन मार्केट में. जब भी लेके आएंगे वो बड़ा पैसा आएगा. एंड दैट्स इट. आई एम सेइंग जो रैली आएगी वो बहुत स्ट्रांग आएगी. आई होप आई एम क्लियर नाउ सर. Vijay ji saying, are we not allowed to invest in IPO, for example, as QIP? Would you recommend to hold REITs as an asset class 10 to 15% when it is the best time to buy? Last question, I just now came across renting out existing stocks. Why are we not making use of our PMS holding if we want to use whatever downside challenge and we are going to face? Thank you. So I don't think PMSs are allowed to invest in QIP. That's what my understanding is. That's why we will not participate. Number one. Number two, it calls for a big ticket size. I can't recollect that any PMS out taking part in. It's normally done by the FIIS and the mutual fund. PMS, I don't think any PMS would have taken part in QIP. And since you've asked question, let me also go back to my compliance team and get the clarity on that. And renting out stocks, sir, we have not done that. I know you are talking about stock lending mechanism. Yes, you do earn and this and that, but we have not explored that. But it's a good suggestion. Again, let me go back to my compliance team, whether it's allowed, not allowed. See, we need to follow the regulators' guidelines, okay? And we don't want any comments coming in from the auditor or being pulled up by the CB saying that this is not as per the compliance. But it's a good suggestion. Let me come back to you on the both QIP as well as the can we participate in SLB. Rajiv sir, how will US Fed decision on global crude prices and China's economic slowdown affect Indian equity? Do you suggest any international exposure to balance risk? So I know, sir, people have made good money in Chinese market, so they want to double down there. People have made good money in US market, so they want to double down there. वो बोलते हैं ना, everyone wants to chase stocks which are on the rise. And eventually what happens, you end up buying at the top and then selling at the bottom. So my suggestion would be as follows, should you take an exposure? Answer is no. I have again simple philosophy, what I'm comfortable doing it. I'm comfortable putting money into the Indian equity market. I don't want to take a single exposure to the US market or the Chinese market. So my answer is no, sir. I don't think. On the contrary, the risk reward is much favorable in Indian markets compared to the US and the Chinese market. I am not at all bullish on the US economy. I do believe that US economy is going to face a high inflation. And as and when it start impacting the sentiment, we would see heavy selling also coming. In fact, there is already chatter happening in the US market that are we running ahead of the fundamentals, the US market? And as and when that happens, because the percentage of assets owned by the US investor in equity is at all-time high, and as and when that's going to take some correction, this time the pain would be much larger on the investors community there. No exposure at all. I would not recommend any exposure. Dhaval Raval sir, one very important request to you. Please tell your app developing team to put app in login pin as well as biometric login. Since we are putting all out of information and also out of family portfolio safety, because a big issue, it unfortunately phone is stolen. Okay, point taken. अब मुझे एक सवाल ये भिजवा देना बसीर. Point taken sir. We will do it. That's a very good valid point. We should do it. To be very honest with you, I'll also give you my own feedback. तो वो क्या है, वो ऐप हमारा है ना, मुझे भी लॉग आउट कर लेता है. And many times even I need to remember what is the password and kind of a stuff on my app. Okay, so it's a challenge. So I think once it's a PIN or whether it's a Face ID, I think it will also make my life easy. So definitely it's a good suggestion. I will also see that our product team and tech team basically sit together and work on something like this. Bharat bhai, please explain what is GDP and how it affects our economy, gross domestic product. So what is GDP is nothing but the activity in the economy, and how it affects the economy. Both simple as sir. Higher the growth in GDP, that means economy is अच्छी करी है. And when the lower the GDP growth, that means economy is not doing well. So country like India should grow in excess of 10%, which is a good GDP growth. Am I right? And I'm talking nominal GDP growth. So that's it. So higher GDP growth, better the economy. Lower GDP growth, the economy is not doing well. So that's very simple. And GDP is nothing but the summation of the economic activity in the country. Satya sir is saying your view on gold and silver. I already suggested that's not so bullish. And was there any US government shutdown? What are the implications, Dr. Saab? The history suggests that US market goes up. So in December 2018, which I suggested, presented in my data, the market went up in double digits, 35 days में, उस period में. So market is own logic. Gold and silver, I'm not so bullish. Again, don't get confused with the assets allocation. Assets allocation is still below 15%. Keep increasing in a gradual manner. Rishabh Singh, very nice presentation. What will be your trigger for FIIS to start buying, and when do you expect it can start happening? FIIS invest in primary market, sell heavily in secondary market. Please explain this dilemma. So it's again, where do they see the value and they invest, whether it's a primary or secondary market? When will they come back? In fact, I've been predicting for last 2 months that they will come back. I've been proved wrong. But as and when they come, Rishabh sir, they'll come lock, stock and barrel. They will come very heavily. So the moment you see some selling pressure happening in Chinese market, I think that was the first indicator that FIIs are warming up to Indian equity market. Namdari sir, so far GST to reduce personal income tax, good monsoon, rate cuts by RBI, USA tariff, minus USA tariff, FIIS selling, multiple negative geopolitical events, minus reduced savings. Is market sideways or falling? I am not reading that GST may have few negative effects. Too much has lost in jobs of unorganized sector. Insignificant price change or slight rise in few cases due to withdrawal of ITs and inverted GST tax structure and loss of revenue to government. My question is, what is still missing? It is just a time or something else? So नामदारी सर क्या होता है, कभी कभी मार्केट भी टेफ्लॉन जैसा बिहेव करता है. व्हाट इज टेफ्लॉन? जब सेंटीमेंट अच्छा होता है ना, तो कोई नेगेटिव न्यूज़ उस पर चिपकती नहीं है, और जब सेंटीमेंट खराब होता है ना, तो बहुत सारी अच्छी न्यूज़ भी उस पर चिपकती नहीं है. So it's just a question of time, and we need some tipping point. Some event will happen and that U-turn will happen, we'll see a sharp upturn happening. What that would trigger, कैसे होगा? And you're right, there are jobs, no doubt about it. Unorganized sector में jobs जो loss होने वो तय, because textile, which is a job market, tariff का impact है. Gems and jewelry, again job market, tariff का impact है. Your leather industry, tariff का impact है. So that's it. That's a big. What impact it has, how much it will happen, what government gives comes with the support, and so on and so forth. We need to basically wait and watch. But overall, right now, when we look at from Indian GDP growth, the positive that you talk about, thus gives an indication that I think we have hit the bottom somewhere. From here to go down, looks little doubtful. I believe if OPEC done pump and sell oil, now the future belongs to EV. They may not be able to sell oil once, and the EV takes over ICE engine. Kinsen stocks, I think that's the name of the firm. You are right actually, because if Saudi has 100 years of reserves, they do understand that do we need to keep these reserves where the value is not as good as what it is. So might as well realize that value now before it becomes too late. That could be one thought process that may be happening. And EV, yes, again, if you look at the growth in EV, it seems to be stalling somewhere. If you look at Europe, whether you look at China, whether you look at US, but somewhere again it will revive. In country like India, it's increasing. But EV is the future. In a phase, there will be phase where there will be some amount of degrowth. That doesn't mean that don't consider that as a trend. EV is the future, and if that is so, demand for oil will take a beating, and if that is so, that's what you're right. OPEC may be thinking in that direction, and that's why they're increasing production. And second thing also, their market share is decreasing now. So that's another reason why. Or maybe there could be an instruction from the Trump, if Russian supply goes out, if there's a sanction on the crude oil from Russia, there should be enough crude available in the market, otherwise price will shoot up, and if that shoot up, it can disturb the global GDP growth, which is not in the interest of anyone. That could be another reason why OPEC is steadily increasing the oil production. Mohammed sir is saying, asking what is the reason behind metal index outperformance. I think the copper is at 2 months high. The global economy, which was supposed to be taking a beating, is not actually. It's doing well. There's some supply disruption happening in some parts of the world, and these are the reason why metal indices are doing well. Satish sir, auto sector boom will continue for long 2-3 years, or will it be only for couple of quarters? Your views please. बहुत टफ सवाल है सर. आज की तारीख में तो चल रहा है. In our PMS also we own two-wheeler company. In fact, out of one we have the highest holding in our PMS. We continue to believe that auto sector should do well. Will it continue for sir 2-3 साल का बहुत difficult हो रहा है. क्यों? Because things are changing very quick and very fast, and we need to wait and watch. But right now things looks very promising for the auto sector. तो अभी मंदी का सौदा करके फायदा नहीं है. And of course we'll keep revisiting you saw the data which I presented Q1, Q2, Q3, how market sentiments are changing on a quarter to quarter basis. So right now short term looks very promising. Long term के लिए we'll have to revisit again, because things are changing little very fast in each and every aspects globally also. Vineet sir is saying, I wonder where the DI gets money to invest in the markets month after month. Sir, आप और हम ही तो दे रहे हैं उसको पैसा. Mutual fund है, insurance है. You know that from 1st October, even NPS, you can 100% go into equity. EPFO money which is coming every month. वो तो पैसा आ ही रहा है ना सर मार्केट में. तो वही तो पैसा आ रहा है, आप और हम ही दे रहे हैं. Either in the form of mutual fund, either in terms of life insurance premium, either in the form of EPFO either in the form of NPS, वो पैसा तो आ ही रहा है. Jairam sir is saying which sectors to invest in October to December. My view on the sectors are not undergone change. BFSI, consumption, capital goods infra, that includes cement also now. इनफैक्ट आपने शायद आज जो RBI का जो डेटा आया हुआ है इसमें बोला है कि सीमेंट हैज ग्रोन ऑलमोस्ट बाय 9% फ्रॉम जुलाई टू अगस्त काइंड ऑफ स्टफ. सो एक तो GST कम हो गया, 28 से 18% हो गया सीमेंट पे. द गवर्नमेंट कमिटमेंट टू द इंफ्रा रिमेन्स रोबस्ट. इंडस्ट्री कंसोलिडेट हो गया है तो थोड़ा प्राइसिंग पावर आ गया है. Volume growth because 30 to 35% of the cement comes from the rural housing. वहाँ पे because of good monsoon उनकी spending capacity बढ़ी है. तो how does the rural economy works, you know? It's a very interesting thing. अगर एक साल बारिश नहीं आया और दूसरी साल बारिश आया, you don't see much improvement. Why? Because उसने जो पहले साल जो लोन लिया है उसको रिपे करने में चला जाता है. सेकेंड ईयर जब बारिश अच्छा होता है, सो दिस गाय विल क्रिएट सम रिजर्व्स बिकॉज डजंट नो व्हाट विल हैपन नेक्स्ट ईयर. ही सेड ओके लेट मी कीप सम रिजर्व्स. इफ फॉर सम रीजन इफ द नेक्स्ट ईयर इज नॉट सो गुड, आई हैव सम मार्जिन ऑफ सेफ्टी. बट थर्ड ईयर व्हेन द मॉनसून इज गुड, अभी तो उसने रिजर्व्स बना दिया है, तो ही इज गोइंग टू स्पेंड मोर मनी एंड दैट्स वेयर ही माइट. वो गांव में क्या होता है, अलग रीत से होता है. पहले कमरा बनाता है, फिर उसके एक कमरा बन गया, फिर उसके ऊपर एक नया फ्लोर बना देता है. दैट्स हाउ द कंस्ट्रक्शन हैपन्स इन द हाउस एंड दैट विल स्पीड अप बिकॉज ऑफ थर्ड ईयर इन ए रो द मॉनसून इज गुड. सो सीमेंट लुक्स प्रॉमिसिंग सर दैट वे. जयंत सर विश यू एंड मोजो टीम में वेरी हैप्पी नवरात्र दिवाली. सर दिवाली को तो टाइम है, लेकिन थैंक्स अ लॉट सर, वेल इन थैंक्स टू इन एडवांस. Can you please clarify when you said the market will go up by 18% by around next Diwali, whether you are referring to indices or selective equity, certain sector or company specific stocks? No sir, I am talking about Nifty 50. And when I say 18%, उसका logic बताता हूँ. Assume that price to earning remains the same. The FY27 earnings growth of Nifty 50 is expected to be 18%. Market by next Diwali will start discounting FY27 numbers, and that's why this 18% growth I'm talking about for Nifty 50. Some company will grow more than that and some company can still give negative returns. The same way some sectors will be much positive and some sectors will still be negative or below 18%. Almost 8:07 हुई है, तो लास्ट 5 सवाल लेते हैं. बस ही लास्ट 5 क्वेश्चंस प्लीज. विलियम चार्ल्स सर, हैप्पी दशहरा. हाउ विल द परफॉर्मेंस ऑफ कैपिटल गुड सेक्टर इन Q3? हाउ ग्रीन एनर्जी सेक्टर्स प्रोस्पेक्ट्स इन FY 2026? थैंक यू सर. आई बिलीव दैट कैपिटल गुड्स शुड डू एक्सट्रीमली वेल इन Q3. ग्रीन एनर्जी आई एम नॉट out and out bullish. That some companies will do well, but I'm not extremely bullish. So I would be more company specific in FY 2027. But capital goods extremely bullish. Last 4 questions. Manoj Raheja sir, good evening. That example iPhone selling 10,500 will scare the buyer away because in equity market this has happened. Will continue to happen. Everyone will buy for your iPhone 1 lakh 50. This is my experience. Obvious. Sir, लेके जाओ 1.5 lakhs में. सर मुझसे कोई तकलीफ नहीं है. No, I understand where you are coming from, Manoj ji. क्या है? See, problem in equity market क्या होता है? वो fear होता है. When you buy and see the logic which applies for iPhone is that you can feel the product and you know the worth of it because उसका कुछ MRP कहाँ पे मिल रहा है उसका. आपको मालूम है कि अगर मैं यही फ़ोन कहीं दूसरी जगह पे ले जाऊंगा तो उसका मुझे MRP मालूम है, उससे वो डिस्काउंट में मिल रहा है. सो इन योर माइंड यू कैलकुलेटेड द गेन, एम आई राइट? एंड दैट्स व्हाई यू आर विलिंग टू बाय फॉर 5,000 and 10,000. द मोमेंट इट गोज टू 1.5 लाइक दैट, यू नो दैट वो तो सस्ता मुझे दूसरी जगह मिल रहा है. सो इन इक्विटी मार्केट वो MRP कहाँ पे नहीं मिल रहा है. और अनफॉर्चुनेटली मनोज जी, मंदी में सब मंदी की बात करते हैं एंड तेजी में सब लोग तेजी की बात करते हैं. दैट्स द रियलिटी ऑफ लाइफ. एंड व्हेन द मार्केट इज इन मंदी, एवरीवन कीप्स लाइक लिसनिंग टू द मंदी की स्टोरी बिकॉज इट वेरी वेल जेल विथ योर थॉट प्रोसेस. तेजी में सब लोग एवरीवन, इफ आई कम इन फ्रंट ऑफ हिम, मुझे लगा मंदी लगा, आप भी सुनोगे जैसे गोल्ड का, many people will still not listen to me. So that's what has happened. So मेरा जो, that's why, sir, if you know the psychology, why do people have sale and why the people buy more? Very a classical case which has happened. I don't know whether you are aware that it is available in the, just do the Google search, you will get it. Someone did an experiment. What was the experiment he did? He was selling one item. I'm just giving an example. I can't recollect the value, so I'm just now making. He was selling at 100 rupees. Sale नहीं हो रहा था उसका. What he did, he increased the price to 125 rupees or 150 rupees, and he said, "I'm giving you now 20% discount." And people are willing to buy the same product at 120. Why? Because 30 रुपया डिस्काउंट दे दिया तो 150 का 20% 30 rupees हुआ. The product which was not available was selling 100 rupees, people were willing to buy it 120. तो हर एक आदमी के दिमाग में वो डिस्काउंट बहुत सही चलता है. एंड अवर साइकोलॉजी इज दैट डिस्काउंट में लेके आओ और लो, डजंट रियलाइज कि वो उसका MRP बढ़ाने के बाद डिस्काउंट दे रहा है एंड स्टिल इवेंचुअली पेइंग मोर. दैट्स व्हाट हैपेंड मनोज जी. लास्ट 3 questions. Vijay Ram sir, as on assets allocation said, do you recommend to invest in REIT like 10 to 15? Oh, sorry, I missed that. I think you asked someone. REIT, you can definitely invest. I personally believe that REIT should do well. I think government, now the mutual fund can also invest in REIT. That's what allowed actually. So, and government will push REIT because that's one sector which can consume lot of labor. See, remember, when textile, when other sectors are going to face, and there will be a lot of this one, the construction as a segment can absorb a lot of labor. Okay, so it may not be a bad idea that you increase allocation to REIT. Should it be 10-15% one go? I don't know, to be very honest. I have not applied my mind, but 10% should be fine. I wouldn't prefer 15%. And who should invest? Anyone can invest, sir, as long as you are comfortable investing in it. It has a 2 component. You will keep getting dividend also on that, and there could be an appreciation also. So I was discussing someone on last Sunday in gym that India अभी भी real estate है ना का जो लीज पे जो है ना वो रेसिडेंशियल पे नहीं आया हुआ है. The way you can have your retail space for 10-15 years, offices at 10-15 years. रेसिडेंस पर 3 साल का ही आया हुआ है. पीपल आर नॉट वेरी कंफर्टेबल. Someone should come with the rate and say, boss, take this house, I'm giving you for 10 years, 15 years, and so on and so forth. And there will be many people, and then who can offer this? REIT people can offer that 10-15 years का lease. Use your house as so you also have a comfort level कि वो 10-15 साल के मैं यहीं पे रहने वाला हूँ. And that can really give a great spurt to this one. In the developed market, it's a great model. Why should you not? Why should you basically put your hard-earned money lock in by buying the real estate? Might as well use REIT and pay the lease rental. Second last question, Mohan Kumar sir. Trump supporting judges in US Supreme Court outnumber Democrats 5-4. We can expect no surprise, but I expect Trump to give Indians a bad surprise every Friday and plan to crash the market by Diwali. देखते हैं सर. कितने सितम करोगे? There is a limit there, am I right? So we need to wait and watch. Till now, it's not that we have panic. It's not that even the market has not done well doesn't mean that the market has crashed also, am I right? So another bad surprise. Let's see every Friday if they wish to give, let them give. Indian investors also matured. They might use this as an opportunity to buy more. not maybe the sector which is going to go to the pain, but some other sectors. But मुझे नहीं लगता है कि कुछ ज़्यादा I'm hopeful that we should see a tariff being signed soon. I think relationship are improving, not at the pace it should improve, but somewhere I think it's improving. And being in equity market, you have to be optimistic to make money. Last question for the day. Ranan Saigal sir, is it the right time to invest in IT stocks? Presently they are impacted on American policy. Please give a view. I'm not still comfortable, sir. So if you look at the software exports, in first 2 months has been up by 7% or so. It's a service exports, and when I say service exports, it's IT services. It's up by 7% or so. So there could be, I don't know whether pricing impact, how it is paying, that there is an uncertainty about the H-1B visa and so on and so forth. So the time has come to invest in IT stocks at this point of time. The answer is no. And I think AI is a big, I don't know how quickly Indian companies are able to adapt to the new model of AI and what kind of valuation they can bring it to their own clients is still little question mark. One leading IT company, services company, show their AI guy quitting. And there's a churn at the top that's happening. So, थोड़ा वहाँ पे भी you need to see that other side of the aspects also, कि how good they're able to retain the talent also. So थोड़ा difficult लग रहा है. So will I put my hard-earned money right now, Ranen sir? The answer is no. So with this, once again, happy that said, I know there will be more questions, but in the interest of the time, we need to conclude here. Thanks a lot, everyone, taking time out and attending this webinar. Next week, I'm not very sure I'll be in front of you. Of course, I'll be in front of our PMS customer with our report card on Thursday. But others, I'm not very sure. I don't know whether slots are available or not. I think Mohit is also back. So most probably Mohit will do some webinar next week. If not next week, maybe one after that. Until such time, good night. Take care.